During the COVID-19 pandemic, many of us thought about how our bodies interacted with the virus. We thought about how to prevent infection, about how to minimize the virus's impact on our bodies, and about our interactions with the bodies of other people, which made us conscious of social distancing, encouraged remote working, and foregrounded biases in our societies. These changes and the reasonings behind them reflect how the virus shaped our understanding of our bodies. My thesis examines a similar issue, but takes as its subject the Black Death, the outbreak of bubonic plague beginning in 1348 and its subsequent outbreaks in England up to the 16th century. It argues that plague, as a non-human entity which has the capacity to affect human experiences, strengthened an already existing understanding of the body as a porous and open entity. This meant that the human body was not always understood as isolated from outside influence, but as capable of making multiple and intimate connections with things. It was through these connections that health and illness made sense, and it was via these connections that treatment for plague was sought. So let us look at a few examples to illustrate this. Plague outbreaks could have macrocosmic and microcosmic causes. On the larger scale, these included the influence of planets, natural disasters, and, as William Zouche, the Archbishop of York, wrote in a letter in 1348, by God punishing all humans for their sins. Microcosmic or local causes of pestilential outbreaks are more limited in scale, mainly involved polluted environments, such as here today in London town. But sinful activity could also make an individual more susceptible to developing disease. The key element in all of this was the corruption of matter outside and inside the body. Outside, air corrupted by heavenly influence or rubbish lying around, and inside, the body corrupted by inhaling, ingesting and absorbing corrupt matter, and also by committing sins. In order to know more about the implications of these theories, I am now meeting an expert in the field. So the body's interactions with all of these things played a significant role in understanding plague?
Absolutely. The body's porousness played a crucial role in the spread, prevention and treatment of plague, and as a result, it was foregrounded in the wake of continual outbreaks.
So, in many political, philosophical, and theological writings, the polity is likened to the body. Was this analogy significant in understanding plague?
It was. It highlighted new ways of fighting corruption, other than trying to remove it from the city, as well as the individual body.
In 1459, the Chancellor of the University of Oxford was granted the power to expel from the city sex workers who were thought to contribute to the spread of infection. But rather than expelling every suspect from the city, a more practical solution was to regulate people's activities, such as by restricting movement or trade. This mode insinuated that infection could actually exist within bodies, it just needed to be contained. Some wealthier people left plague-stricken towns, thus taking healthy individual bodies out of the infected body of the city. This initiative destabilized the whole idea of separation between inside and outside, of a unified body with a superficial integrity. There is no hard border separating the city from the rest of the world. It is as porous as the individual body.
So, is it possible to contain infection within the individual body?
For ordinary people, it had to be combined with other strategies to eventually purge the corruption. However, holy bodies, such as those of saints, held the privileged position of being able to contain corruption and harm within them. Some were revered precisely for the bodily damage they sustained.
Take Saint Roche, for example, who was invoked to offer protection from plague. Roche is said to have contracted the plague and recovered, but in visual representations of him, rather than depicting his healthy, triumphant, and plague-free body, he is depicted exposing his open plague wound. A similar case is Saint Sebastian. He is usually depicted in a scene where he is shot by multiple arrows, in spite of the fact that he survived the ordeal. There was a desire to portray his bloody, pierced body because of a symbolic association between plague and arrows. In turn, the element of visible bodily damage linked protection against plague to the Passion of Christ. The corruption and damage these figures sustain is not depicted as infectious and harmful. Rather, it contains danger within their bodies as well as within the boundaries of visual representation. In the same way that Christ redeemed mankind from sin through his passion, the invocation of wounds resembling plague sores on holy bodies provided protection for those in need of containing infection. But what happens when these bodies move beyond the boundaries of representation? What if, instead of an already made, damaged body on a page or a wall, we had a body becoming more and more visibly damaged and porous in front of our eyes, just as we would when witnessing the deterioration of a plague-stricken family member? Dramatic performances depicting the Passion, which would have taken place in places like York City Centre in late medieval England, offered this move from visual representation to performance. The emotional or affective impact of witnessing the body of Christ undergoing increasing disintegration inspired contradictory interpretations of what was being enacted. In these plays, Jewish characters are inevitably villainous, and their portrayals draw on an anti-Semitic logic which saw Jewish embodiment as distinct from Christian, as evident in these anti-Semitic illustrations from the 12th century Stammheim Missal and the 14th century prayer book of Bonne of Luxembourg, Duchess of Normandy. They are also, for the most part, incapable of understanding Christ's message. At the same time, however, the materiality and the disintegration of the bodies of Christ and the Jewish character in the Norfolk-based Croxton play of the Sacrament, for instance, ends up uniting the two figures, bringing Christians and Jews together under the common taxonomy of bodies which can be disintegrated, bodies that are porous.
We may wonder whether these experiences brought people together or divided them further, but in my thesis, we see how plague influenced existing ideas about the human body. We also see, more generally, that non-human entities have the power to shape our experience of the world, as well as our understanding of it.